Hey everybody, this is Hob.
It's Jamie.
And this is Dutch and Dragons.
Happy Father's Day.
Happy
all
Father's
of you
Day
fathers
indeed.
out there.
So as you can see, I'm wearing my dadly shirt, which is a beard measuring stick.
Yep.
Gotta love that.
It's very much a dad shirt.
So anyhow, today we are discussing
kind of table obligations, what they are, how to come up with them, all of that good stuff.
table obligations. So, what do you mean table obligations?
First question. Basically, table obligations is a set of rules or obligations that the table sets together. Hold on, we're going to order coffee. It'll just be easier if I stop talking for a minute and order coffee.
We are really rolling up here, too.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, man?
What can I get y'all?
Small, iced, extra shot, coconut milk caramelizer.
Small iced, extra shot, coconut milk caramelizer.
Yes.
Okay.
And
Small iced coconut milk German chocolate mocha.
Small iced, coconut milk, German chocolate mocha.
Yes.
Got you. Anything else?
nah, that's it.
Perfect. Total's 1020.
There you go.
Do you see the two cute dogs in that juice?
Yes.
Oh my goodness, they're so adorable.
Yeah, that's essentially what my dog is. One of them's a husky wolf hybrid, and the other was an Alaskan Malamute husky mix.
Man,
And I have a German Shepherd Alaskan Malamute wolf.
good lord.
So it's
Do you
kinda
do
like
a lot
a
of
mixed
hiking
ball.
with them? Like, I would have to imagine that you have to take them out a lot.
Oh yeah, I tried to take him out like multiple times a day.
Yeah.
Took him out like right before I left.
You've
I
got
took
all
him
the
out
high
when I
energy
get back,
breeds in one place.
Go get some
Woo.
food, come back, take him out again. Like
Yeah. Yeah,
all
no,
good.
definitely.
And then he sheds like, oh, it's horrible.
Oh.
He sheds
It
so
is.
bad.
It
Got
is
all
what
the-
they do.
all the-
So we're going to be behind the escape, right?
Yep.
All right. Cool.
All right, thank you.
Have a good one. Okay, so what do
are
we
table
mean?
obligations?
What do we
Table
mean by table obligations?
Really, that's just obligations that the table sets as a unit to help people.
So
Stick
you're
to the units.
so you're going to answer the second question.
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
same time, huh?
So I'm just going to go on with what should this include? What is included?
All right.
in
So
table
to kind of give you a
I can't
really
bring today,
shiny,
so
I
you
can't see.
take this.
All right, so here's the thing. Table obligations is basically an agreement created between all of the players and the dungeon master at the table that defines the rules of the table as it pertains to behavior, snacks, showing up on time, all of those fun things that nobody really wants to talk about, but everybody really gets annoyed about. Like
everybody really
the
needs to
person
talk
who's
about.
always 15 minutes late and how to address that. So that's what table obligations are. That's what we're talking about. So it's sort of table rules, but it goes a little bit further. Do you feel like you're
I
like
feel
way
like
out
I'm
of
hiding
frame?
over here.
Hang on.
Okay.
Better?
All right, that's better.
All right.
Thanks.
So she's in frame now.
Yeah.
We're not cutting her off. All right. So
Well, I don't know
moving on with that, let's answer some questions.
Yay! Question box. Question number 1. How often should you revisit your play schedule?
As often as necessary. And I say that because often you're dealing with individuals who are adults. They have busy schedules, they have busy
least we are
lives,
now.
maybe they have, at least we are now.
Yeah, kids vacations.
School stuff, medical stuff. There's all sorts of stuff that goes on.
We tend to have a busier times of year than other
Yes.
times of years. Like around the holidays, a lot of times the play schedule might change because more people are out of town and stuff.
Yeah. So we try and revisit that schedule as often as is necessary.
When you start getting when you have to cancel a lot of games, but like good rule here is if you have to cancel a ton of games, like you find yourself all the time canceling games because people can't show, that's a good time to get your players together and go, okay, so obviously the schedule's not really working. What schedule is gonna?
Yeah. That's a good rule right there.
All right. Next question. When you have someone with, say, a food allergy, is it reasonable to expect everyone to bring snacks which accommodate the allergy?
that depends.
I really do think it depends.
That depends. So, something like celiac disease.
Which I have.
No.
Because I'm fancy.
Realistically speaking,
I don't
gluten-free foods are wildly expensive.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something that's going to cause you to go into anaphylactic shock or something like that, which means you're not going to curl up and die at the table.
Are so sensitive they would get really sick.
But yes, there are some cases, and so that's the severity of the allergy may determine what is allowed at the table.
Like if you've got someone who's allergic to peanuts who goes into anaphylactic shock, carries their EpiPen kind of allergic to something, I would say just not have that at the table. Just don't do that.
Just put out a general statement. Hey, peanut-based products not allowed at the table.
Yeah. But on the flip side of that, like we were saying, I have celiac disease. A lot of times, our gaming group brings like gluten-free chips and stuff like that because it's not hard for them. They're plentiful in our area. We're really close to things like Whole Foods and Trader Joe's and all that stuff. So sometimes they will, and that's really great. If there's a lot of stuff at the table that is not gluten-free, and I have specifically brought my little gluten-free stuff, there's also the expectation that I am not expected to share.
True story.
So there's also that. It works both ways.
Yes.
All right, next question. Moving right along. At what point of disruption, I can say this word, do you uninvite a player from your game? And if there's more than one player involved, do you uninvite both?
So this is loaded because
it really is.
You have to
do your due diligence as the DM to de-escalate the situation prior to it getting this bad.
Yeah. So if it continues to be a major disruption to your game, which is to say that
everything you can,
that the player is beyond a reasonable level of disruption. They're throwing things. They're verbally abusive. They are violent towards other players.
They're verbally, they just argue all the time, and it turns the game into.
They are perpetually argumentative. There is
power struggles. And
a point at which you have to say that you're no longer an invited. And if there are two individuals involved or more individuals involved, maybe it's time to uninvite yourself.
Yeah. That's true. Sometimes people just don't get along, and no matter how much you try, they just aren't. It's never going to work out. Some of the things, most of the time, we're all friends, and sometimes my approach is, I don't think that this particular game is working out for you. I understand you've got a lot of frustration with so and so. But it's turned the game into, it's no longer fun for anyone.
And it may have to be a table discussion as well, which is something that is everyone may need to sit down and have a discussion and try to work the problem out together, because maybe it's something external to the game that's creating the issue.
You never know. But I do say that sometimes, every now and again, you do get to the point where you have to uninvite a player, and it's never pleasant, and no one ever likes to be the person who goes, I'm sorry, but you're just not welcome back. If that happens, I'd say if that happens to you, if you ever are in that situation, I mean, sometimes a table is just not right for you. It's like a breakup. Sometimes the shoe just does not fit. You are not the Cinderella. This is not going to work for you. Do
you have some more metaphors you want to ramble on about?
No, I don't. But
okay.
I would say try to bow out gracefully and find yourself a new table that is going to work.
Yeah. There you go.
How do you address a constant rule or obligation breaker, like the person who's always 15 minutes late? If it's a late issue, one of the first things I would talk to them about is this a problem with the time of the game itself? Like, if I move the game back 15 minutes, like, is it a traffic issue? Is it, I just got out of work and I actually cannot get to the game place on time, like physically not able.
It's a discussion about why they're late.
Yeah.
There are some people who
If they're just late because...
it doesn't matter what time you set the game to, they will always be 15 minutes late because they don't know what a clock is.
Yeah.
Or they just don't know how to set alarms or
Or
timers,
they just
or
can't manage.
they just don't understand how long it actually takes them to get from point A to point B. And they can't even. So some people are always going to be late. You have to make a determination as to whether or not the table can accommodate that. Now, for the most part, if you're 5 minutes late, 10 minutes late even, if you're not getting started, which in most cases you aren't getting started in the first 10 or 15 minutes, everyone's sitting down, everyone's having a discussion about what's been going on in their lives, everybody's getting settled, getting characters out, that kind of stuff. No harm, no foul.
Right.
But if it becomes disruptive to the actual start of the game, then it's time to have that discussion.
Yeah, if everyone's sitting around for, say, 20, 30 minutes after they've had the little talking, just waiting for this person to show up to start the game, and the other problem is then that person also misses out on that sort of social, like, we talk about our days,
Yep.
we talk about our weeks, we're talking about things that have nothing to do with the game.
And so then that becomes disruptive to the game when they come in and start that discussion all over again.
So
Anything, I think anything more than about 15 minutes past the expected arrival time, which I usually set my games for on the hour, and anything 15 minutes after the hour, we're going to start playing. And if you're later than that, then
you have to roll on the late table.
We this is a new thing. We've got a late table, and it's going to be hilarious.
We're hoping. We'll see how this works out. We'll tell you all about
Basically,
it
we just took a whole bunch of reasons why people call out of work and adjusted them for Dungeons and Dragons. Should be fun.
Some of them have minor detriments.
Yep.
So
some of them will cause detriments to the player, but we digress. Moving on. What's our next question?
Who should set the table obligations? The table.
Everybody.
Everybody
at the table should have a discussion about what those table obligations are. This should be part of your session 0 or before, actually.
But definitely before play starts.
But yeah, definitely before play starts. And that's because you want to make sure that everyone has a clear understanding of what the expectations are at the table and for the table, and to be courteous and polite to the other players.
Yeah, exactly. And if there's any dispute, majority vote.
Yeah.
And the DM is always the tiebreaker. At least I feel.
Say she's pre-answering questions we haven't got to.
What? I'm sorry. How many sessions can a player miss before replacement is an option? This is something that should be set, I feel like, by the table.
Yep.
And by a little bit by the DM, because the table isn't going to know at the very beginning of the whole thing.
So generally,
help me out here. What am I trying to say?
So the table's not going to have a clear picture of
how disruptive your absence is.
How disruptive someone's absence is going to be. But generally speaking, if somebody misses more than 5 sessions in a row, I'd say that's disruptive enough that they're probably going to have a hard time coming back to the table. And they might not. If you're running a series of one-shots where it doesn't matter how many sessions they miss, no harm, no foul.
Exactly. So it's going to be dependent on a number of factors, but yeah, I think about 4 or 5 sessions.
Yeah, 4 or 5 sessions is usually about where I call it. We tend to run a lot of one-shots, so it's not as big of a deal. Most of our stories are beginning, middle, and end in one play session. Sometimes 2. Maybe 3.
What about alcohol and drug use? Ooh.
In moderation, don't care as long as it's nothing illegal.
I say it depends, again, on the table, because if you are the only person at a Drunk and Dragons game, that is a very uncomfortable situation. You're the only sober person there, and you're like, wow, guys, this is getting out of hand.
And it can get out of hand.
Or vice versa. If you've got one player who is playing Drunken Dragons and nobody else at the table is, that can be that can be problematic. It can be.
True story.
So I would say that this is one of those things where you need to sort of gauge it on what's going on with the players and how the table atmosphere is. But yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with Drunken Dragons. I'm not a heavy drinker, so I'm usually the sober person at the table. But it can be entertaining once in a while. I don't like it as a...
I generally, like I said, my general rule of thumb is as long as nobody is blind drunk or so stoned that they can't function.
Or they can't drive home.
I don't really care. If you're drunk enough that you can't drive home, you can sleep on my couch.
Yep.
I'm not a horrible human being.
Does the game's host or the DM get a greater say in table obligations?
Sometimes.
I agree with that. Sometimes.
That's the short answer, is sometimes. So the game's host may have house rules.
Which are not the same as table obligations.
Yeah, which are not the same as table obligations. There may be rooms in the house that are off limits. There may be certain things which can't be done in the house. We have a house rule when we're hosting. There's absolutely no smoking or vaping in our house. It's just, it is what it is. You don't smoke, you don't vape in my house. Period. End of story.
Yep. You can take it outside.
Yep, you can take it
but
outside.
You can't smoke or vape in our house.
Can't smoke or vape in my house. And that is for a whole lot of different reasons.
Some hosts will have dress codes. Like
Yep.
this is a very like, I don't mind if you show up to play naked, but there are some people who mind. Like seriously, there are some people who mind. So some people will have dress codes.
I mean, I kind of mind. Please wear clothing. like really.
But like that's another one of those things that has to be talked about. Like, do you or do you not? We're gonna say hi.
What's up, man? Yep. So anyhow,
so the house host can set some rules that have to be just. Maybe there's no swearing because they've got little kids running around. Who knows? But yeah, there's some rules that the house host will set, but those are house rules.
Yep.
When it comes to the table rules,
for the most part, everyone
Yeah.
should have an equal say. Like Jamie was saying, having someone who is maybe not necessarily setting the rules, but can function as a tiebreaker is handy, like in the case of the DM or the host, that can be super helpful.
Yep. And we have gone through all of our questions, and we're at our time. So
We are. So next week we are going to discuss player versus dungeon master.
Yeah.
And we'll just let you guys sit on that and think about it for a little bit. But anyhow, if you like what we're doing and you enjoy our episodes, or if you don't, like and subscribe. And we will be more than happy to have you watch our episodes, even if you hate us. If you want to hate watch us, if you want to scream at us, swear at us, if you want to tell us what we're doing wrong, post it in the comments below, and we'll get to those later. If you really love what we're doing and you want to ask us questions, post those in the comments below, and we'll also get to those later. Otherwise, that's it. Happy Father's Day, and have a great day, everybody.
All right, bye.